What's up, everyone? We finally got our Gundam Evolution Season 3 announcement. Seemed like they were going to keep us waiting as long as they possibly could, but it's finally here, and we've got ourselves a new mobile suit and quite a few balance changes to go through, so without further ado, let's take a look at this new mobile suit. And here we have it, our new mobile suit, Hyperion Gundam. If you were one of the people who predicted this suit, congratulations. I don't think there were very many of you. When I went through and looked at all the predictions, I don't think I saw anyone predicting this suit. But if you are disappointed, if you're hoping for a different suit, they have said that they're going to be adding an additional 2 suits this season. And I believe they've also said that all of the new suits are going to be from titles not yet represented in the game. So if one of your favorites is not yet represented by a title in the game, then there's still hope for you coming in the rest of the season. But let's go ahead and take a look at Hyperion Gundam. That says they're going to be a mid-range suit, 900 HP. 900 HP is a HP amount not yet represented in the game, but when we get to the balance patch adjustments, we will see it's not going to be just be Hyperion Gundam when Season 3 launches. They're going to have 1 dash, so another kind of slowish suit. We just got a new Gundam with 1 dash, and now we've got Hyperion Gundam with 1 dash. It makes sense. They are another shield suit, and so far all of the shield suits have been limited to the single dash, and then a 700 HP shield, which is pretty low. Would have been the lowest shield in the game, but after the last Gundam nerf, Gundam shield is still lower than that. But for a suit that has a shield always at the ready, just with that sub action, that is pretty low. It also looks like at least on the model, it doesn't look like it covers your whole body from the front. We'll have to see if that's just a visual thing and it actually really does block everything, or if it actually is something you can kind of shoot around. Go ahead and look at the abilities here. It looks like the first thing, the main weapon, is a beam submachine gun. It has 40 shots to the clip. Looks like it does pretty good damage. They say it's effective up to mid-range, so I expect it's going to have a harsher fall-off after that, possibly similar to how GM's beam pistol works. And you can also, of course, raise the shield for cover while you're doing it. So it seems like kind of a similar basic playstyle to Jim. We'll have to see how the ranges differentiate, but it does seem like it does a lot of damage really fast, so it might have higher damage than Jim, while Jim has better survivability. We're going to see how that plays out. And then looking at active skill 1 here, it looks like you bring up a barrier that goes, I believe it covers your whole body. I say one-way barrier, but I think that just means that you can shoot out of it. I don't know if it has an HP threshold, but from what they're showing right now, that just seems to be a timer for where it counts down before it goes away. They even say there that you get the barrier for a set time, so you might be fully invincible for the time that shield is up. So that could be pretty strong. It doesn't last very long though, and it looks like it has a 15-second cooldown. But you can potentially use it, as your arm shield goes away. You can pop this up to give you some more time to get away. And just having, like an invincibility like that could be really good in countering enemy G maneuvers as well. And here we have the second active skill for Fanterie. It seems pretty similar to a turn A charge shot. Does about 350 damage for what I'm seeing there, although the values could change. And it has piercing damage, which is the thing that makes it most like turn A charge shot. It looks like it has a 9-second cooldown, which is relatively quick, especially for what's basically free damage, as long as you can aim it right. And I feel like this would be pretty strong. This is kind of showing that they seem to be pushing Hyperion Gundam in more of an offensive role compared to Jim's support role. We're just kind of dishing out damage rather than having like the heal grenade. So you have a weaker shield, possibly more damage on the main weapon, and you've also got this piercing damage to deal with larger groups. I guess in a sense it might be more similar to the Jim's option with the detonator, and it's your burst of damage. But this one is going to be faster, and you're not going to be able to shoot it like you can with the detonator, but also they're going to be lined up. It's not going to have as much width to it, so it does seem like a strong ability though. I expect this will be pretty good. And then the final part of the kit, we have the G maneuver, the Armure Lumiere Lancer, which seems to be kind of similar to Dom's G maneuver, kind of like a Dom Asshimar G maneuver combination. But if anything, it almost seems most similar to a Reinhardt charge from Overwatch. It goes longer and it does damage during the whole charge thing, but what they're saying that it kind of vacuums people in, and it also sounds like you're stunned for the whole duration if you're hit by it. So I don't think you get any shielding. They don't mention it all, so I think like unlike Dom, you will be able to shoot him from the front, but if he makes any contact with you, you're going to be stunned, and it seems like you get kind of stuck on there. So if you're grouped up and this hits you, I think you're all just going to die. But if you see it coming from a distance, You probably have time to shoot him because he's not going to be able to, I don't think, unless, I mean, I guess we don't know. You might be able to use the skill active shield during it. If you can, that would be crazy strong. No, it looks like they are great out there. Okay, so you probably can't do that option. So, it seems like it's a bit riskier than a Screaming Nimbus, but if it connects, it seems like it's going to be pretty much a guaranteed kill. We see here it's killing a Zaku after it's already been started for a little bit. So I guess if it caught him near the end of it, it probably wouldn't kill. But soon if you hit up close, it's probably going to do enough damage to destroy any suit. So, seems pretty strong. We'll have to see how it plays out. Alright, now that we've looked over Hyperion Gundam, let's take a look at the rest of the balance adjustments. First on the list, we have Zaku Ranged. Just a relatively small change, but probably a good one. When you use your Smoke Discharger ability, it does automatically restore 1 bar of your boost gauge. I'm not really sure how I feel about this change. It's definitely good, but it doesn't help. I feel like Range Zaku's problem is kind of being a consistent source of damage, and Range Zaku's already the suit with probably the best survivability in the game, and this is just making your survivability better. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing for Range Zaku. I don't know if it's necessarily a healthy playstyle. It just kind of makes it so that a really annoying Range Zaku is even harder to kill, but it doesn't really up your ability to kill as Range Zaku. So it's playing to Range Zaku's existing strengths, not really showing up any weaknesses. I mean, I guess it is a weakness that you can potentially pop your smoke and not have a sprint gauge to get away, but I mean, this is just helping you be better at that already, which you're already really good at. So I don't know how I feel about this change. It's good for Range Zaku. Don't know if I like the direction they're taking with it. Next up is Asshimar. I'm not really surprised they buffed Asshimar. I do think Asshimar is a good suit, but I think compared to some of the other damage dealing suits, is a little bit on the weaker side. I also believe that it hasn't been seeing much play at all in Japanese tournaments, so that may be another reason why they targeted for a buff. The first buff is that they're lowering the cooldown of Charge Shot from 11 seconds to 7 seconds. I don't think this is... this isn't the type of change I would make to this ability. I think Charge Shot is just kind of a bad ability overall. It does comparable damage to just your standard primary shot, primary burst fire. It's basically just your primary burst fire with 1 extra bullet, except it can't headshot. So if you do your normal triple shot primary fire and you get 1 headshot, I think it does the same damage as a charge shot. So a lot of the time I would just prefer to keep using my regular fire ability, and I only feel like I really use charge shot if I'm trying to burst down like a shield really fast, or if I'm out of ammo. So, and I guess you can kind of use it sometimes where you can kind of queue it up, because it does take a little bit to fire to the charge when someone's coming around a corner. But I feel like I would have adjusted the damage or something to make it better rather than just giving it a lower cooldown, because it already feels like an ability that's not really worth using. Making it be able to use more often doesn't really help that aspect of it. So I don't know. It's a buff, but I don't think it's going to be much of an impact. But the bigger buff is damage per hit to Napalm Grenade. This is the best part of Asshimar's kit, and they made it even better. This is like the Range Zaku change. It's taking a strength that's already strong and making it stronger. Some people would say that's not healthy design. I don't necessarily agree either. Napalm Grenade is already really strong. I don't think this part of the kit needed a buff. I think doing something with Charge Shot or the main weapon would probably been better, but either way, it will make Asshimar better, but it's going to be the same thing where if you hit by Napalm Grenade and you can't get out of it, it's going to hurt like hell. If you're not getting hit by Napalm Grenade, Asshimar is probably going to feel exactly the same as before. So it's a buff. Don't know if it's really going to change much play rate wise though. And next we have Turn A, our first nerf. We have a nerf to the damage from overhead throw. And their logic here is that they're saying the burst damage from overhead throw into charge shot was too high, so they wanted to decrease the damage to give 800 HP range suits more time to break away. And I don't agree with this change. I'm just going to say I think it's a bad change. I think Turn A is already kind of in a spot where they're too weak outside of their G maneuver and maybe too strong in their G maneuver. So if they really want to like make fundamental changes to the suit, I think they would need to nerf Butterfly in some way. I don't really know how they do that, but I think that would be the way to do it, and then buff other parts of the kit. I don't think nerfing overhead throw is a good idea. I think it's already kind of a hard ability to land, and the fact that you're now not even getting really guaranteed kills on 800 HP suits, like it's so hard to get a grab on Range Zaku unless the Turn A is playing really well or the Range Zaku is not playing very well. and now if you get that, it's going to be even harder to get the kill. So I think for the effort you have to put in to get the grab as turn A, that the damage was fine. And if they really did think it was a problem, I'd only think it was a problem for, you know, the higher HP suits. So I don't know why they would even call out 800 HP range. I feel like, you know, overhead throw, it's annoying if you're Sazabi. I think it's okay that it's annoying for lower HP suits than get hit by, because aside from Jim, they usually have the tools to get away from it. So don't agree with this change. It's going to hurt turn A. Yeah, well, we'll have to see if they buff something later to make up for it. And speaking of 800 HP suits, we have Jim. Jim is getting more buffs. They're saying they want to improve its abilities against melee units, mainly. So they've given him a buff from 800 HP to 900 HP, joining his new shield brother, Hyperion Gundam. Jim now also has 900 HP. And then the change to the shield bash is that it has increased knockback distance. Looks like it's gaining about an extra fifth of distance based on its current value. So not a ton, but probably noticeable. And then they're giving it a bit of a nerf as well, where the animation is going to be longer, and the animation will play the whole amount, even if it hits early in the bash. I guess currently it ends early if you hit the bash early. So I mean, I guess what they're saying is they want Jim to be better against melee suits, and knocking them back farther generally is going to be good. But you know, if you get hit with the melee abilities that really make Jim sad, the knockback probably isn't going to help you at that point. You know, if you get hit by shoulder tackle from melee Zaku, your shield's gone. You can't even do shield bash. And if you get stunned by Barb, then you know I guess you have slightly better odds of surviving at 900 HP, but usually probably dead. So I don't know. It's probably a buff, but we'll have to see how long the animation can be, because getting locked into like one animation can kind of suck. I mean, we've seen that with Marasai. A lot of people complain about Marasai's melee. So if it's more like that, it might feel kind of bad. I don't know if Jim even really needed a buff. I felt like he was in a pretty good spot. I don't think this is a crazy change though. I think this is we'll have to see how much better it makes against melees, but I think overall it's nothing crazy, but it is a buff, I think. And then speaking of awkward melee animations, here he is. Marasai got some pretty major changes. I don't think there's really any way other than to say that it's a nerf. This could be like the last Barb change, where everyone initially, myself included, said it was a nerf, and then it kind of ended up overall being a buff with the better G maneuver and some of like the ability to act more quickly out of certain abilities. But in this case, I'm pretty confident saying it's a nerf. Our first change is that the Sea Snake and Snare, the hook ability, is getting a 4-second reduction on the cooldown, so you can use that a lot more often, but the damage is going from 350 to 10. So basically nothing. It's just now the utility of getting the hook. You're not getting really any damage out of it. And you can do it faster, or not faster, but more often, but even then, it's still 6 seconds. Like, if you see Marasai miss a hook, unless he can get away, 6 seconds is still usually enough time to kill him. I guess it means if he misses the hook and backs up, he can then come back around for another hook sooner than before. But I feel like most of the time, if you're missing the hook, you're disengaging for a bit anyways. If you're staying in a constant fight, the shorter cooldown I don't think is going to matter that much too often, because you're probably just going to die as long as you're getting focused at all. But you know, it does mean if you're fighting against like kind of back and forth like other mid-range suits, that you will be able to throw this out more often. I don't think it matters as much versus like flankers, so you're usually gone by the time this is up again anyways, or you're dead, which kind of stinks, because I think Marasai should be a counter to flanker type suits more than anyone else. And this kind of hurts that. But I guess I should go through the rest of the changes as well, because it's kind of all tied together. We also got the melee ability, also got the damage nerf, but 350 to 300. It knocks back farther, which I don't know if that's a buff or a nerf, actually, thinking about it. You don't... I mean, if you're going to get the kill, you want them close to you. If you think they're going to survive, depending on the suit, you might want them farther away. I think this is a nerf. I think overall you want them closer. I mean, I guess it's a buff if you're not doing the hook and you're just trying to get people away from you. I guess it's a buff. But they also increased the stun duration by 0.1 seconds, which might make it more doable to do... well, no, because you still do the melee. I guess you could potentially do hook, shot primary, melee, and then do 2 shots, maybe, and that can still get you the kill on lower HP suits. And the extra 0.2 might help with that. Not really sure. But I think overall, this does mean you're going to have better chances of surviving the combo at any HP level. And then the final change is that they are decreasing what you need to charge your G maneuver. And I think this is just kind of offset by the overall nerfs and the other abilities, so I don't think you're actually going to be getting it more often, unless you're just shooting people. I guess if you're just shooting people and not getting hooks, you'll charge it faster than before, but overall the whole thing seems like a pretty big nerf. I understand that hook type characters like this are very frustrating to play against, and they're trying to remedy that a bit. I don't know if this is the right direction to take it, because I feel like you kind of need Marasai as a counter to the more mobile suits, and this definitely nerfs more in that situation than anywhere else, because the times you're gonna be able to get the most like multiple hooks is against like suits that are gonna stick around and fight you for a bit. You're gonna be fighting back and forth, and those usually aren't these highly mobile flanker type suits. So pretty big nerf, I think. Overall, we'll have to see. Could kind of change Marasai's playstyle a bit. Maybe something more interesting like it did with Barb, but we'll have to see. Then our next change is Mahiroo. I feel like Mahiroo has gotten a change in like the last 3 patches. They keep going back and forth, but we got a buff again. They increased both the primary and the G maneuver. That the explosion detection radius is going to be a bit bigger again. So they've been going back and forth. They buffed it to a certain amount, then they kind of nerfed it back to a certain amount, and they're buffing it up again. I don't think it's as high as it was before. I think it was I want to say it was at least 180 before, so maybe this is a middle ground. I know a lot of people were saying they felt like Mahiroo kind of got destroyed too much after they rolled back those initial buffs, so this might help make it a little bit better. Still, at the end of the day, doesn't really solve Mahiroo's general playstyle problems. They kind of excel on like certain maps, certain situations a lot more than others. You know, this is going to help you somewhat when you're fighting someone head on, but nothing huge changed. So for the most part, Mahiroo probably gonna be the same, a little bit of a buff though. Then our second to last change here is going to be on Zaku melee. It looks like they're kind of trying to shift more of his power into that rage stance. So the first change they're doing is making it harder to build rage, but then once you are in rage, it's going to last a whole 2 seconds longer, and everything but your G maneuver, it seems like, is getting increased damage. So in the past, when they nerfed melee Zaku, they did lower some of the damages. It looks like this is kind of undoing it, but only undoing it in the rage stance and making you work harder for it. This kind of fits their theme that I've discussed with some of the previous changes, where they're buffing your strengths, things that are already strong with some of these suits, and not really touching the weaker things. In fact, in this case, they're making it so it's harder to get to that stronger state, but once you're in it, it's stronger than before. So you know, it's going to be rough when you do have to face Zaku melee in rage. He's going to be tougher to deal with. He's still going to die just as fast, though. They didn't adjust the amount of temp HP he gets or anything like that. So it's just you're going to die faster if a rage Zaku gets on top of you. That's probably okay. I do feel like he needs some kind of buff. His play rate fell off quite a bit, at least from what I saw in Season 2. So this is probably good. They might have to revisit the character more in the future, but I think some sort of buff was the right direction. And then our last balance adjustment is a change to New Gundam. If I believe I'm understanding this correctly, they're saying that when you're zoomed in with your primary fire, you no longer get your movement speed nerfed, which is pretty crazy, actually. I don't think any other suit has. I think every other suit that has a zoom in, Gundam, Pale Rider, a Sniper, I think they all get movement speed decreases, and now New Gundam does not, which is pretty crazy. That's actually really good, because I feel like when I have to hip fire as New Gundam, it's kind of rough. I don't know why, because I think you have roughly like the same aim as Gundam, but for whatever reason, I feel pretty comfortable when I have to hip fire as Gundam. I feel like it's pretty effective. New Gundam, not so much. So now basically, unless you're just having trouble hitting people up close with the zoom in, you basically always want to be zoomed in, because you don't become an easier target when you are. So that's a pretty crazy buff, actually. I think that's pretty strong. Probably not going to move New Gundam up any crazy tier amount, but I also think it's a bigger change than it looks. And then for some additional changes here, they've made some adjustments to how overtime works in point capture and destruction. Before, when you got to 4-4 and end in a draw, it seems like now if there's still overtime, it continues. It can keep going, I guess, until you either run out of time or you get to 10 rounds, which sounds insane. I don't actually know if I like this change. I personally don't really mind a draw that much. I get that it's frustrating that you spend all that time and at the end it's just no one wins, no one loses, but I think when it gets to that point, teams are close enough that like I'm kind of like, okay, whatever. I guess there's sometimes when it's frustrating when it feels like you still had more time than the other team when you got to it, so I don't know. I don't think this is going to occur that often. 4-4 matches weren't that common before, because that means you're pretty evenly matched, but you're both good on offense, usually, because if you're really evenly matched, usually it ends around, you know, before both teams can get both points in the first round, or even, you know, both points in the overtime rounds. So I don't think this will happen often, but I guess if people who are dissatisfied with draws, I guess this gets rid of them now, unless you get to 10 and then you still get a draw. But at that point, I think a draw is fitting. So yeah, I don't really care about this change, I guess, overall, but some people are probably pretty happy about it. And then the last set of important changes here are that they are combining matchmaking areas. So it seems like all of Asia is now a single matchmaking area. It's no longer Japan and Asia, and North America and Europe are now combined as well. I think this is probably a good thing. It can be a little bit scary when games start combining regions. That often can be because it, you know, usually means they're having a player-based problem. But I think this will be nice. I guess there can potentially be ping problems, but I know I've played with EU players before who were playing on NA, and from what I've heard from them, it's usually fine for them. I know Japan can be rough for some European players, but I think North America is usually okay. So this will increase the player base without having to switch servers. It might discourage people from switching to the JP server as much. So I think this is good. I think as long as there's no ping issues, I think it's nice that we're gonna have bigger players, and who knows, maybe that means we can finally get some rank matches without having to go to JP. We'll have to see. I said that last time, it didn't really work out, but hopefully it works this time. And then other than that, they're making a couple changes, a couple general changes. Looks like some console aim assist changes, some changes to master rating, but I think that covers the most of it. One thing I noticed that seems to be missing is they didn't seem to discuss anything about a new map. I did not watch the whole reveal stream, but I did watch a decent amount of it, and I didn't see any mention of a new map. So I'm wondering if that means we're not getting one, or if it's coming with a later suit, or what. But I'm hoping we're still getting a new map, but so far I haven't seen anything for it. Anyway, curious to hear what you guys all thought about these balance patches and how you feel about the new suit, and what other suits you're still hoping for those next two that we're going to be getting in Season 3. So I'm curious in hearing your thoughts, and I'll see you when Season 3 drops in a couple days. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you then.